Hey, what's up, YouTube fans? What I wanted to talk to you guys about is how the population for humans has really been growing rapid. It's really been increasing in size rapidly in recent times. And the more time goes on, the more rapidly it does increase, right? Because the more individuals there are, the more there are to make even more babies, right? And so just in the past decade, right, from 2015 to now 2025, which is when I'm filming this video, um the population has risen by nearly 1 billion, right? In just the past 10 years, it's risen by nearly 1 billion, right? And yet the population had never been as high as 1 billion until about 1804 is when it's estimated to have first been at 1 billion, right? Whereas most of human history takes place before then, obviously, but it's not until then that it was even estimated to be as high as 1 billion. And yet now, in just the past decade, we've risen by nearly another 1 billion, right? And in that time since 1804, right, the population has multiplied by about 8, right? Because then around 1804 is when it was first about 1 billion. Now the population is estimated to be over 8 billion, right? So the population has multiplied by 8 in just over 2 centuries, just a little over the past 2 centuries, right? A little bit more than 2 centuries. And then before around 1804, or, whenever the exact moment was that we reached 1 billion, we'll never know for sure exactly because it's impossible to get a perfect estimate. But before we reached the point of 1 billion, for all time before that, for all the time that humans existed, there was never a time before that the population was as much as 1 billion, right? And in fact, when our species first began, which was actually about, it's estimated to have been about 300,000 years ago, the population, when our species first began, was likely less than 1 million, right? So vastly less than it is now. And that would make sense because our closest living relatives, the chimpanzees and bonobos, there are 2 species of them, but within each of those 2 species, there's less than 1 million. They're both endangered species. And so, vastly less of them than there are of us, right? And this actually addresses a question that some people will sometimes have, which is understandable how someone would think this at first before they understand the full facts on the matter, is that when some people learn that our species is estimated to have existed for as long as, hundreds of thousands of years, some people will be confused by that because they'll think, why, considering how quickly human civilization has been advancing in recent years, why is it that it took hundreds of thousands of years to get to where we are now, and throughout the vast majority of the history of our species, we we advanced relatively not at all as a species in terms of our technology, at least like not at all by comparison to how much we're advancing now. And that's understandable how that could confuse someone at first, right, when they don't understand how much lower the population was. But once you understand that when our species first began, it was likely less than 1 million individuals, right? Now it's billions of individuals. That's vastly more, right? Because a billion is 1,000,000 times 1,000, right? And so there's vastly more humans now than there ever were throughout most of history, more now than there ever were in the past. And so, obviously the larger the population, the more likely you will be to get, Albert Einstein's, brilliant individuals that advance us as a civilization. You're going to have a higher frequency of that the larger the number of individuals, and the larger number of individuals there are, then the larger number there are that are all collectively at once working towards advancing the civilization, right? And so we could therefore expect that since in the past the population was vastly lower than it is now, that civilization would advance vastly slower than it does now, right? Also, certain advancements of technology that have happened along the way, in of themselves made it much easier to have further advancement, right? And so really, the more we advance technologically, the greater the momentum of our further advancement, because for, people, wanting to further advance us technologically, they have a lot more to work with now, right, due to all the already existing technology that they can put together in making better technology and use in doing whatever they need to do in making more technology. Whereas back in the Stone Ages, they only had, like stone tools and things. So it's a lot more difficult to work with things like that in, putting it together towards anything useful. And so, the more we advance technologically, the more rapid the advancement is, there's a momentum to it. There's a, or I don't know about if momentum is the right word per se, but there's a snowball effect to it. And so, and also, as we've advanced over the years, we've gotten to the point of where we've started creating, schools with education systems, right? And that obviously tremendously, speeds up the speed of our advancement, right? Because the more educated the individuals are on, differing facts and on differing skill sets, such as, mathematics, etc., the more that individuals are educated on things like that, the more likely that they'll be able to make contributions that advance the civilization, right? Whereas before we had schools, before that was a thing, that would obviously mean that civilization would progress much slower, right, than it does now. In any event, very interesting. All right, that's all for now. See you guys.